Good morning, everyone. So today I wanted to make a full parametric ring. So without further ado, let's start. So I'm going to start with a ring rail, size 7, that's fine. Then I would start with a Gemvision ring rail, and I would position a stone somewhere around here. You can go to shaded, and now I want to make a halo, but I'm not going to use the halo command. I'm going to use gem offset curve to create a line. So I'm going over here. Actually, before I make the halo, what I could do is prepare the setting for the center stone. I could use head, but personally, I'd rather use another bezel. So I would start with another bezel and then run head without any trail count. Okay, so this is the way I like it. I can make the prongs higher. Okay, and as I was saying, I'm going to use this curve to position stones that are going to be used for the halo. Okay. Let's give it a go. Everything is parametric, so I can always edit later. I want the stones bigger, and as you might know, you might want this stone to be always looking always at this position. Okay. Let's take a look. Maybe I want the stones slightly bigger. Okay, and what I do not want, okay, I want the stones to be looking this way. Maybe slightly higher. And we will probably change that later. Okay, let's do a bit of a parametric check so far, okay? So ring rail is parametric. I have the stone. I have the under bezel. I have the head. And I have gems on this curve, okay? So if I now change this line, everything is going to update, okay? So far so good. Let's carry on. I want to select one stone and create another bezel. To create one stone, I just need to do Ctrl-Shift and run an E on the bezel. Okay, this needs to be way smaller. So I'm going to start with something like this. Okay, and now just a piece of advice here. What I would do is rename under bezels. So this under bezel is this one. I will rename it. I'm going to call it Halo under bezel. Okay. I could rename this one as well. Why not? So main stone under bezel. Okay. So now I want to copy this under bezel around these stones. So what can I do? I can do Orient to gem. So select by gem, Ctrl-Shift, this one, object to orient, this one, enter. Target gems, Ctrl-Shift, and I select all the stones involved. Okay, and enter. So now, if I pick this on the bezel and I edit this one, they will all update at once. Okay, so now that I have this, I can see that I can try to reduce the spacing between the stones slightly. So I can edit gems and curve and try to reduce the spacing a little tiny bit. Okay, this happens because, of course, I added one stone. So it's not considering this stone to make Orient to gems. But either way, this is too tight. So I'm going to go back, and what I will do to reduce this spacing is pick this curve, which is this one over here, is gem offset curve. Okay. And I will bring it in a little tiny bit. Let's try something like this. Okay, and now I can select these stones and place bronze with bronze placer. Okay, by default this is way too small. We need to increase it, and we need to raise it up. I would do something like this and increase the height. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so that's the top section of the ring. Now could be a good moment to start building the shank. Do we want to rename this? We could rename this, for example, Orient to Gems. It's important to be organized. Orient to Gems Halo. I'm basically renaming this command because maybe I'm going to use Orient to Gems again here. So let's start building the shank. I have my ring rail, and now what I want to do is create an outside ring rail. I want to make something a bit more. Let's try something like this. Okay. I will probably change it later, but we'll see. Okay, so now I want to start with the stones on the shank, on the shoulders. So I'm gonna do gems and curves. Something like this, even if we're not 100% happy with this. We can play with the placement to position them in another. Okay, something like this is better. I might taper them. I'm still not sure about that. Actually, what I might do is, you see now they are popping out too much on the sides. I don't want to increase the width of the ring too much. So I'll rather lower it and then pick the outside ring rail and lift it up slightly. Okay, you see now the position of the stones is better. And now I might need to edit this to something like this. Okay, that's what I want. Now, again, I could make another under bezel. So again, Control Shift under bezel. That's not what I want. So I'm gonna reduce it, make it nicer. Okay, and now again I can use Orient to Gems. So Base Gem, Control Shift this one, Objects to Orient this one, and Target Gems, Control Shift, and I select all of this. Okay, as you can see, I have all the bezels for my side stones. Maybe I want to consider tapering them. So I can do taper N. And maybe I want this one a bit bigger. I think Orient to Gems didn't like this. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to this. And let's increase the size for all of them, maybe. Without tapering them. Still didn't like it. Okay. So I'm going to remove this command and repeat it again. Okay. So again, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to rename this one. So rename on the bezel shoulders. And now for this, which is the gems and curve, I'm going to taper them. 1.75, 1.5. It's just a slight taper, it's fine. And maybe try to reduce the spacing slightly. Okay. So now I have this on the bezel, and I'm gonna do again orient to gems. Page gem this one, objects to orient this one, target gems, Control Shift. And these are the settings, okay? Now, okay. Cool. And now what I would do is also place some prongs. So easy, select stones, prong placer. I want to make them slightly bigger, slightly deeper. Okay, so far I'm making everything pretty much for production. So I increase the size of these prongs. I want to increase also the end ones. So something like this. Okay, so that's something already, yeah? Now, I want to visualize the whole thing. Like, not the whole thing, but I want to visualize how the other side of the ring will look as well. So all I will need to do is select all of this, go to Transform, Mirror. Okay. Even if it's not finished, this helps me get a better understanding of the model. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with the bottom side of the chunk, and then we're going to work on all of this pattern in here. Okay. So that's easy. Green rail. We're going to pick a profile placer. Let's go up to there. Pick an outside green rail, and let's pick a profile. Let's try with something like this. I would need to go up to this. We want the mirror to the other side. And I might need to put it somewhere in here, because I want to make sure that it blends properly with the setting. So let's leave it there for now. And now let's do sweep 2, parametric sweep 2, of course. Okay. Make sure the chunk is straight. So yeah, maintain height. And just a bit of advice, I would leave dome thickness just a little bit, like 0.1. Okay. We can play with that a bit later. Okay. Might need to make it slightly thinner. 1.9. Okay. I'd rather leave it like this for now. We might need to change it later. Cool. Okay. You can see it's starting to look like a ring. That's good news. Let's carry on with something slightly more complex. Let's pick up the stone and let's run another gem offset curve. We will bring it down inside the ring rail. We should keep it the same size, but that's a bit up to you. And now we will run an offset curve. Going in at least 0.8. Okay, so we have this. Again, all of this is parametric. So if now I change center stone, everything will update. Okay. If I change finger size, everything will update. I recommend always to check the dynamic command list to make sure that everything is working fine. And of course, I would always advise you to save. That's quite important. Okay, so now we can select these two curves, and do extrude, which is here, extrude curve. And make sure that you choose the option cap yes. And we can do something like this. So now we will go to profile placer, and we can create a new profile, which is a rectangle. That you can add that manually in the library. And this rectangle will be quite wide. Doesn't really matter how wide, as long as it's wider than the ring. Sorry, wider than this component. And this should be at least 0.8, 0.7 sometimes, okay? And it should be straight. Why am I doing this? Because now, if I do activate auto sweep, sorry, not like that. What I will do is put the profile here, do a mirror, and now do surface sweep 1, and create something like this, but to the other side. So I want to flip it and make sure that it's solid. Okay, this is what I want. Why do I want this? Because now I can go to solids and I can run Boolean intersection. First object and the second object, this one. This is exactly what I want. Okay. And the cool thing about this is that because I run an offset, I can change the thickness of this if I want to. Okay. Cool. That's something. What else now? Okay. We want to build this section here that touches the finger. So again, profile placer up to here. This, the thickness of this was 0.7, right? 0.8. 0.7. So the new thickness of this has to be 0.7 as well. You will understand why in a second. And it should also be a rectangle. And it should go this way. So I have a profile here. You can barely see it now. But if I now place another profile here, okay, if I go to wireframe, I can go to sweep 1, pick this profile, and this profile. So that gives me this. Okay, now I could make a straight shank, or I could try to make it a bit more elaborate. So this would be one method, okay? If I go to transform and I do mirror, I pretty much have most of my shank. But this is not what I want. I like to make things a bit difficult sometimes. So what we can do is pick up this profile only, reduce it, and do this. Let's see how that's gonna go. I'm not too sure all this. But that's the benefits of, one of the benefits of having parametric models, that you can always play with them. Okay, so that is 1.2, could be less. 0.8. And this one, 0.8, that's fine. And now what I wanted to do is, instead of doing a regular mirror, I could do mirror, but multi. Just like that. Okay. Now, I just noticed something. I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not, but what I do have is the stones are tapering in a way that it's wider to here and thin at the top. Maybe that's not what I want. So let's try to change it. So I can edit these stones and try to make them bigger there and smaller here. That's 1.7, 1.5. Okay, it's not a super big difference, but I think it helps. Okay. And also, now I want to place a pattern here. Okay. if I start putting a pattern here, it's going to go to taper. It's going to go in an angle. I don't want it to be in such an angle. So I can pick this offset curve that I made before and make it bigger. So now, as you can see, everything is changing. Also, the bigger this area, the more stable the ring is going to be. So it's going to be more comfortable to wear. And let's make sure that this thickness is right, 0.8. Yep. And now I want to change this. So simply edit. And that's it. Because it's parametric, everything is updating. That's pretty cool. Okay. You see what I'm going now. So let's do a full save just in case. Okay, so now it's time that we start placing little components over here. So the way I would do this, of course you can make scrolls or whatever you want, but I'm going to try to keep it relatively simple. And in this case, I'm not going to start with a parametric component. It's just a curve. So I have one curve. I do a regular mirror and a regular join. And now I can go to solid and run pipe, parametric pipe. I have a thickness and I have radius. So let's try something like this. I'm a bit too thick actually. Okay, let's try this. If it doesn't work, we can always change it. So now, the way this is going to work is that all of this that we've done before, this is going to be parametric. And this component, we will need to use MSR to move them around. So there's always like a certain degree of manual adjustment, which is great because you want to be in full control of the design. So that's the component. Let's put it in another layer just for my own sanity. And now we can use MSR objects, which basically means that we can move around. Actually, I'm going to first position it over here because this might be too big. So I'm just going to reduce this part, position it somewhere over here. You see, for example, in this case, maybe I want more space over here. It's the spacing between the stone and the bridge is too tiny. That's easy to fix. We just need to move the stone up. And pretty much everything is updating. And now we can edit the outside ring rail. That's it. Okay, so now I have more space over here. Cool. What I was doing here. So what I would do is first position this just with the gumball, even if that means that I need to edit using MSR later on. So that's my component. And now probably what I could do, let's put it over here. And now I would use bend. So I can fill the dynamic commands and use parametric bend. Now I need to select this edge over here and bend it this way. Okay, that's what I want. Oh, actually, hang on. Before I do that, I would recommend that you copy this part somewhere else. For example, could rotate with copy. And position it approximately where you would like it to go. And now, let's start bending each of them. So as you can see, I have 3. I'm going to use 3, probably I will just 2. Okay, so I can have this part. And now I'm going to use pen with this. Make sure I choose the right side. Bend it this way. Okay. And now this component still has parametric capabilities because I've used pipe. So I can change the thickness if I want to. And the result will update. Okay. I can run mirror multiple. So I have all these copies. And what is important here is using MSR objects. MSR objects, because that means that at any given point, I can edit. Oh, sorry, I need to choose MSR before that. So MSR objects now. And now I can run color array. Sorry, I can run mirror with multiple options. And now if I run MSR objects, you see it's updated. Okay, so I want to repeat the same process over here. I know it might look a bit confusing, so I'm gonna do the whole thing again. So first of all, position the component any way you would like. Something like that. Okay, you can keep it straight or you can bend it slightly. So if we just bend, for example, I'm just gonna bend it a bit this way and a bit select side, a bit that way. And now I'm gonna use MSR objects because I want to bring it a bit down. I can also play with scaling here if I want to. Now let's run mirror again with multiple options. Okay, so now I have two MSR objects for the one on the side and for the one in the center. If I change this, it will change these four. If I edit these four, the one on the outsides will change. Okay. Okay. What else? Now let's build something here on the sides. I want to add a bit of a filigree here. So what I would do first is unfilter dynamic commands and simply draw a line. You can just project or you can disable yaw snaps if you want to. Let's trace a nice line like that, which of course will not be parametric, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now what I want to do is use the command that it's called object on curve, and simply put objects here. But the object that I want to put, I don't have it. I need to create it first. So let's do that. So I need to create an object and put it in the library. So let's build circle. And let's run this important pipe. Okay, let's start with this. And as you know, we can always edit the object. You can see already it's too big. Okay, let's try this and let's make the pipe. That's better. Okay, so now let's do object on curve. And I need to use this object. So I just need to do objects, this one. And now my object is here. Okay. This is all I wanted to do. Something important now is that I want to use taper end, because the first one is going to be bigger. Let's see how that can look from the front. That's quite good, actually. Okay. Okay. Cool. As you can see now, the curve is in the middle. I obviously don't want that. And I want to keep things parametric. So I have different options. I can pick this line and use MSR objects, as we've seen before, like this. Oh, that's not going to work because I need to pick this. So MSR objects and move it like this. Okay. But as you can see, this is going straight and the bridge is not straight. So I need to do something. What can I do? So if I select all these components, I can go to transform, create the dynamic commands, and do share. And if I pick this side, okay, this might be a bit tricky to use, but if I keep playing with this MSR objects, I can keep Okay, I can achieve something like this. Then simply pick this filigree and run one last mirror, again multi, and that's it. Okay, and I can hide this, and I have my parametric model. Okay, so now you see that if I change the finger size, if I increase it to say size 8.25, you can see that the pattern needs to be moved. But that's quite easy. I just need to go to MSR objects and move the pattern up. That's one. This is another one. As you can see now, everything is updating. Okay. One last thing that we could do, if you wanted to cut this through, you could create a solid. Doesn't need to be parametric. Make a box, for example, in the center. And simply position that box over here. And this box couldn't be a coolant difference. This one, got it here. Okay. So that will be everything with it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching.